time too. And we also didn't get the AI companion as a result of that. So there we go. Okay, hopefully it's working now. Now it says on mine that it's recording in the cloud, so that's good. Yeah. Mike, go ahead.
Everybody, oh, I have half a head. Okay. I gotta shrink down. Hi, I'm Mike Anello. I live in Florida usually, although I happen to be in Connecticut right now. I'm pretty active in the Drupal community, and yeah, I've been using DDEV for a long time.
A long time. Paul, go ahead.
Have to find the audio button. There it is. So I'm Paul Gilzo. I'm with Upsun/platform.sh, where I'm a developer advocate and work a lot with the WordPress and Drupal community, and was very honored to work with Randy on a whole bunch of different plugins for DDEV to integrate with our services.
And not past tense, I'm hoping to get your review and collaboration on the DDEV Upsun plugin that I'm working on.
Just been busy, and I've been busy. That's all.
Yeah. So I've been working really hard on DDEV Upsun. So I'm looking forward to getting your opinions about it. Selwyn, go ahead.
Morning, Selwyn Pollitt here, Drupal dev and author of Drupal at Your Fingertips. And yeah, just happy to be along for the ride. I'm definitely a big fan of Randy and DDEV. And I'm driving, so please be aware of that.
I can't believe you have your video on and you're driving.
Oh yeah, why not, right? Here we go, give you the view. All happening. I am driving my electric Volvo though, so I'm definitely
there's
trying
no
not
problem. No problem.
no problem. No, I'm not contributing to global climate crisis. So.
Stas, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Stas Zhuk. I'm a maintainer of DDEV. I live in Kremenchuk, Ukraine, and I'm happy to be here and making DDEV better every day.
Every single day he is. It's lovely. Great. Truls, go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat, and then Ralph. And so, yeah, so Truls says, usually I have interpreters, but not today. I work as a DevOps consultant at FrontCom with a background in Drupal. Of course, we're delivering a different CMS as well. And of course, we use DDEV for all projects. We're always glad to have you here. Go ahead, Ralph.
Hi, sorry, but a bit late. Do we have any introductions right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ralph from Nuremberg, Germany. Yeah, I'm in content strategy and yeah, in Drupal, busy in the UX and accessibility groups. And yeah, that's it about me.
For years, Ralph has been working every day with the head version of DDEV and reporting what his experience is, which is a absolutely lovely thing that he does. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about our work that we've been chatting about for years, and we're making actual fundamental progress on. And conversation is welcome, and the governance proposal is there for review. We had Guy, one of our great contributors in New Zealand, reviewing it very carefully yesterday, which was great, and some of you have looked at it. Carrie, didn't you introduce yourself already?
I don't think so.
Oh, we'll do it again then.
Okay. I'm Kerry Gordon, and Drupal development for 20 years. Oh my God. And I was also very involved with the formation of the current Drupal Association.
Well, we're glad to have you here and here for all these years. Sorry, did I miss anybody else? When the names pop around, I get lost, and someday I'm going to figure out how to fix them in place.
One of the
But I
things
still
we do
haven't figured it out.
in our internal meetings, Randy, is we all raise there's a raise hand emoji. And then when you speak, you take your hand down so that at the beginning, you see all the hands and they sort in that order. So something we could do.
Oh, they sort in that order. I like
Yeah.
it. We'll give it a try.
Yeah.
We'll give it a try, but latecomers won't know how to do it. You have
That's true.
with your internal meetings, you have a strategy and it works like that. But
That's
anyway,
true.
it's a great, thank you for saying that. So a number of people have been nominated enough that I think that we can get a 5-person board together. One of the comments on the working governance proposal, the working update to our founding document, was that we should always have an odd number of members. At our last meeting, I said that I didn't think we could pull off more than a 3-member board, but I think we can get a 5-member board since we have 4 people willing to be nominated or who have been nominated already at this time, which is excellent. If you want to nominate someone or nominate yourself, you're also welcome to do that. And ideas about how to get.
Sorry to interrupt. Are you sure you don't mean a number of odd people as opposed to an odd number of people?
A number of odd people. Yeah, well, that too.
Yeah. Sorry. I just had to interject.
I think you had that one waiting for a long time.
Could be right about that.
If you would like to nominate someone or nominate yourself, that is something can be done. I've posted about that on the socials, didn't get any real responses. So it's more like, pestering people who are already overbooked to overbook themselves a little bit more, which is good. The one thing that Mike Anello and I were talking about the other day is how we could try to get a little more diversity in our group, because we have right now we have 4 white guys on there. At least we have one from the Typo 3 community with Benny. But figuring out how we can get a little more diversity is a great thing to work toward. I'd actually be interested in your comments and thoughts about the members. Actually, let's take a minute. These 3 people have these 3 people, I mean, Mike and Benny and Andrew just introduced themselves, so we probably don't have to spend more time with them. But Mike's been involved with DDEV since like the very beginning of time. Wrote a book about it back in the 2010s or something like that. Benny has been engaged since Typo 3 was engaged for all that time, and B13 is a valued financial contributor to the DDEV project as well. And Andrew has been involved for so long. It's great, it's great to have trusted, known people. And Mike has also agreed to be our treasurer, which I think is a lot better than me being the treasurer, because it's just a separation of powers. So at the beginning, that's going to mean that Mike sends the payments to Stas and me every month instead of me doing it, which is a step forward. Eventually, I'm sure that will mean that Mike will have to do the last minute scramble that I did last night to update the financial reports. But we're going to try to make it easy. But the real thing is to have a little separation of powers. And Mike has already been on the bank account for a year and a half or 2 years. So that's a good thing. So we try to reduce the bus factor everywhere, but having a board that grows into real power is a real step forward for us. And as I say, suggestions are open. Any conversation about the the path to a board here?
Well, I think the only way you're going to get a diverse board or a more diverse board is to actually recruit someone, which is also a slippery slope. So needs to be thought about.
Yeah, it's always the problem with especially little nonprofits is you go find your friends and the people that you know, and you don't always come out with just the right thing, and then people may behave differently when they have more power. There's all kinds of problems with little boards of little nonprofits that I think a lot of us have seen before.
I wonder if maybe a first step is trying to figure out how to get a better pool of people attending these meetings. Because if we assume that people who attend these are people who are interested in DDEV and might in the future be good board candidates, you know, our pool is already fairly narrow that way, it seems.
Yeah, and there is an oddity, and that is that most of the time the people that attend these meetings are not the same necessarily as the ones who are contributing day by day, and they're also not necessarily the ones that are contributing. Their organizations are not necessarily contributing financially, which is a key thing as well. So when I was thinking about this, I looked at all of those places, the the day-to-day contributions, the financial contributions, which are a sign of commitment, and the people that come to these meetings, and those were all inspiring and very much appreciated sets of people. But then that's my own thinking and path. But those can anybody think of other pools of people that are good board candidates besides the three pools that I just suggested, which are the three pools that I suggested are day-to-day contributors, financial contributors, and people that come to these meetings.
I think one question for me is, what exactly are the attributes of the people we're looking for? I mean, do we need people who are good fundraisers? And, do we need people who have nonprofit experience, who are not, power hungry megalomaniacs? You know, uh,
I think that's an excellent point, and I know that most successful small organization boards focus around financial power. And so the people that get brought onto the board are the people that either can raise money or who are already contributing extensively financially. I've never quite related to that idea, but I believe that is the standard recommendation for boards.
Yeah, what we talked about, Randy, was maybe, looking for skills that the board needs. And, fundraising is definitely one of them. But then the other one we talked about was just um, knowledge about governance and experience with governance of open source projects. So I think it's healthy to look outside of the DDEV community to bring in an outside perspective on either fundraising or governance. So we're not navel gazing all the time. I like that kind of outside perspective. And then at that point, it's just, we kind of free ourselves from, looking at each other, and we start looking outside and saying, okay, well, this person who, one of us might have a connection with would be a good voice on the board to provide that outside perspective. So that's kind of that's one thing that Randy and I talked about the other day.
Well, there are underlying things as well. The people that we ask need to actually have the bandwidth to participate, and usually people who are good at these things are already overbooked, and so we don't want to make people crazy by asking too much of them, but we definitely want people who can actually participate and, for example, make most of the meetings. Early in this meeting, we were talking about what so Truls raised the question of what are the responsibilities of a board member, and a related idea would be what is the impact or the weight or the amount of commitment that is required of a board member. And my initial answer to that, which the board might rethink over future time, would be that we would continue mostly on the same cadence that we've done with these meetings, with a meeting every couple of months, with the financial reports every couple of months, and of course, with the board being willing to make decisions by a vote if necessary, or probably most of the time by consensus. But if potential board members find that they can't make it, or we can't figure out how to get together at the same time, or we can't figure out an email voting scheme, then that's or we can't properly deal with the question at hand, then that's complicated. But I do hope it's a relatively light commitment for an organization like this. I would think it would be for now. Unless we start getting in fights about everything very fast, I would like it if we didn't do that.
I mean, that's a matter of, getting going and see how everything turns out. From my point of view, it's also very important to keep or to hold the spirit of open source and the spirit of continuing further. It's a matter of responsibility that DDEV is, staying alive, or like continued in a good way and further, and an obligation to ensure that this is working. So I think if I take this responsibility, I would also think that reducing the bus factor is again something that's part of the board that can be decided with everyone, but that's more like the obligation and the focus to do that. And most of the time it's about trademark and licensing things, the boring things that also need to be taken care of by somebody, and that's also an obligation. But that's really important to understand the implications of changing the license, or need to have a contributors license agreement or whatever, if we want to do that. Thinking about how do we want to deal with AI assisted coding contributions, whatever. I mean, everybody of us deals with this in their day-to-day business, but of course, everybody who joins the call can chime in and hopefully have a decision together. But at some point, we want to ensure that it's not just Randy making the decision, but a collective team taking basically the load off of his shoulders in terms of making decisions, because taking or making this some of the decisions is really hard. So that's my 2 cents on this.
Yeah, that's a good point. We often don't have really hard decisions, but we have probably been avoiding some decisions. For example, we have an issue open about trademark and logo usage, and since we are supposed to completely own our trademark and logo and all those things at this point, which we don't fully have that done with platform yet, but it is in process and it will be done in good faith. But we don't have a policy about usage. And there was somebody made a commercial wrapper, a nice GUI commercial wrapper for DDEV, and they wanted to use the DDEV logo and name. And we had to say, no, you can't do that without permission. But we don't have a clear policy on it. And so at some point, that issue will have to be followed up, and we'll have to have a statement about what you can and can't do with the different types of products. It shouldn't be very hard, but we will have to have a clear statement about it. And that's the kind of thing that Benny's talking about, which is great.
I wasn't kidding in my suggestion in the chat, by the way.
Yeah, well, do it. I don't think he probably has the time.
I think it might be useful to ask him. I mean, I think that one of our goals, excuse me, losing my voice, should be to try and get some money out of the Drupal Association and some support beyond what they're giving us.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's definitely one way to get that kind of involvement. And it's so it's a good idea. It's a good idea. And you are nominated to do it.
Okay. I'll do it. No problem. I mean, I think just the ask will be helpful.
Yes, that's a good idea. So the path forward, obviously we have a long path, and the board will not know what it's going to do at the very beginning or know what's important in it. It will have to set up its path and those kind of things. My hope is that next year's priorities will be arrived at with the collaboration of the board, instead of me just saying, well, here's what I think we should do and writing a blog post about it. So but the board will have to learn how to do that. It was interesting talking with the Backdrop folks about their early days with the board. They had some bumps, but mostly they had a pretty good path. And the board definitely did have to learn how to become what it was. I'm really glad that we discovered them, because they're another very small organization that is a better model than some of the other ones that we have talked about, or a simpler model to follow. So I was glad to sit down and talk with them. Mike Anello suggested that we invite Jen from Backdrop, and I think it's a great idea. Getting her governance experience and getting a slight bit of diversity into a board. I foresee, after our conversation today, I foresee folks here making their comments on the governance proposal that's listed here, that's linked here. making sure that it says what we think it ought to say, and of course meets its legal requirements. It has to continue to meet the legal requirements of the IRS, the 501c3 nonprofit status and that sort of thing. But when we update it, all we have to do is file it with the state of Colorado, and that's what we do. The key updates, besides some modest wording changes, are specifying a board and the members of the board and how new members are chosen. Those are the key things that we have to do. And I would see us adopt that, or hope to adopt it at our next meeting in November, and then file the updated document by the end of the year, and of course share that with the community.
Randy, are you still having in mind the idea that you're going to be a sort of benevolent overlord for a period of time?
I left the 2-year veto power in there.
Okay.
What I would like to see happen is, and you had suggested that I leave it in there forever, and
Yeah.
I do not agree with that. I would rather see a normal progression to a
Yeah.
normal board situation.
Gotcha. Well, you could also allow a 2-year extension, maybe.
Well,
I just don't want to see a repeat.
If the board were freaked out about how things were going and thought it was essential for me to have veto power longer than 2 years, at the end of 2 years, they could do that.
Okay.
But I think what we want is to spread the power out and to have a normal, self-sustaining organization instead of a benevolent dictatorship. But we want to do that in a way that ends up with us being successful and not with drama or whatever. My bet is we're going to do this just fine. We've got good board candidates. We're going to get, I don't think it's any big stress. We aren't dealing with distributing food in Gaza, or anything like
No.
that. We've got
But
simple
what happens
problems.
what happens if billions and billions of dollars start flowing into the coffers? Like OpenAI. I mean, what are we going to do then?
We'll just send them to you. It's all right. It is interesting. I'm glad that we're committed to open source. I'm glad that we're committed to a nonprofit stance. Obviously, an organization like this, lots of people could have possibly taken down a commercial route. And you see all these organizations doing that from time to time, or figuring out how to monetize themselves. And so far, we have mostly just have the problem of trying to raise enough money to make sure that we have a sustainable future, but we don't have the problem of thinking about who we are. We're clear about open source, and we're clear about nonprofit. And of course, that's not the only way we could have gone. And I don't think still we would have had billions and billions, despite your enthusiasm.
I guess there may be some scenario where, I could see potentially some company, I don't know if this is even vaguely possible, but some company, and I don't want to get too far down a rabbit hole, but where they decide they want full-time support, and we'd have to hire a resource for that purpose, and they'd pay an amount, and that could potentially be a profit center, but I don't know.
We already have that. We already have the whole support contract idea out there. We already have, we also have informal support contracts with significant donors. And we have had, like B13 funded a feature a few years ago, very generously. So those aren't things that are counter to anything that we already are doing. Uh, okay, all right, good, all right. I'm trying, how do you do that while you're driving? That's what I want to know. How do you push the right
I'm
thing?
at the I'm at the Home Depot picking up paint now, so I'm not driving anymore. So yeah, we can get really silly now.
So please do please do take a look at the proposed update, which is linked there as governance proposal. And we will expect to try to finalize that. I will send, I'll be posting on the socials asking for people's final responses to that before our November meeting. I expect that we'll adopt that at the November meeting, or hopefully be done then. So good job, everybody, and thank you so much. Next item is I wanted to say that we have in our coming release and on our current websites, we have a number of things that report on our current fundraising status. So once a day when people do a DDEV start, they see our current fundraising status. That will be coming up, and that actually is dynamic. We can change that. So if it annoys you, just say the word, and we'll change the wording to what you want. Stas and I expect to be doing a release next week or the week after, and that's when that will start to appear on DDEV Start. It's already on the top of DDEV.com and a banner. It's on top of the docs and a banner. Oh, it will be on top of the docs at that point. It's still on the latest version of the docs, and it is also on addons.ddev.com already. So that's we're making progress on that. It's our responsibility to our community to make them understand what our status is and how it is that people get full-time support all the time from this team and this community. So I think it's our obligation to bring people in and help them to understand that. And so that's why we put quite a lot of effort into reporting on that status. And there's actually detailed reporting in the sponsorship data repository. And I'll be at DrupalCon Vienna. Upsun came up with the airfare for that. Thank you very much. And Tag One came up with a conference ticket. The lodging and food and incidentals, I'll be taking care of, I think, personally. And I'm going to go to, we're going to go to Madrid first for the Cake Fest for the Cake PHP people, since it was right before, and Nancy's going to go with me on that trip. Then I'll be doing a full day workshop and a couple of other commercial things at the Typo Camp Rhein-Ruhr in November, which will be delightful. I have had not enough opportunity to spend time with Typo 3 folks, which I get to spend time with them online, which is great, but I haven't had enough as I would have wanted for that. As we talked at our last meeting, somebody suggested that we should probably let people know that we're open to in-person events and to try to get them to fund them, and be more open to that. But these two trips should be good. Three different communities to interact with. And I already have my normal 5 birds of a feather sessions set up for the Vienna DrupalCon. So any comments or thoughts or questions before we go on to the financials? We have about $10,000 in the bank. The reports are there. That's slightly less than we had last month. So I think we had some of the companies that donate annually send their money in the summertime. And so we may be dropping below 10,000 in this coming month. The widget on DDEV.com shows $79.58 as our monthly average income, which is actually up almost $200 over our last meeting, what we reported in our last meeting. So that's the right direction. It's certainly we would like to be going up with more velocity, but I'll take forward velocity over backward velocity anytime, especially in a very difficult market. The strategy that Stas and I have been using, both of us cap our bills at $5,000 a month. That's, of course, no benefits or anything like that. I think we both bill at $50 an hour. We give a full detailed report with our invoices, and then we show what the discount was on the invoice. And of course, because I'm old, if you know, my strategy is that if we get into a tough place, then I cap mine at a lower amount. So that's what our current strategy has been. Any comments on the financials or fundraising status or any of those kind of things? Any responses to the banners that have been showing up?
I'll just mention that, Randy and I talked, and I'm going to be doing some outreach for fundraising. I was hoping to actually have already done it in the past month or so, but time and stuff. But I've got I have a somewhat of a plan. Insert your joke there, maybe more of a concept. But yeah, it's on my to-do list, and so it will happen this fall at some point. So hopefully we'll be able to increase the monthly. What are we at now? Like $7,700 a month in recurring donations. I'd like to increase that substantially by the end of the year. That's kind of one of my goals.
Thank you very much for working on that.
The pressure off, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. We're actually doing quite well, which is excellent. So, we don't have any crises. Our income has been consistent, even if it hasn't grown massively. And our expenses are in line with our income, and we know how to keep them in line with our income. So that's really good. And in my opinion, we're spending money on what we should be spending money on. So, there's a lot to be happy about there.
Question, Randy. If you had more funds, what are the types of things that you would be investing in as an organization if you were running you are running the show, but what would be your avenues of investment if you did have more? Out of curiosity.
The first thing that comes to mind is that we had when Stas came on board originally almost 2 years ago, we had aimed at a $6,000 a month budget for him. And so that's the first thing that comes to mind. The goal that we currently have is $12,000 a month, which would be, like essentially his and mine and incidentals. So essentially, that's what we perceive as the sustainable amount. Over a longer term, I would like to see another maintainer, and that would take more than the $12,000 a month. But perhaps, anyway, I would like to see another maintainer, part-time or full-time paid, and it might not be a maintainer. Of course, Carrie has been advocating for years for it to be a fundraising person, and you know, it's possible that a person should be a, you know, but I haven't thought that through, and that will be something that in the future the board will be engaged with as
Right.
well, trying to figure out that balance. Any other comments or things that anybody would like to bring up or think about or set as goals? I hope everybody can certainly be here for the November meeting where we'll be making hopefully be making a commitment to the new strategy.
Well, I will contact him, but you and I have to talk about what I'm going to say to him before I do that.
You bet. Okay, well, I know you all have a meeting to go to, and I so much appreciate your collaboration by being here, and your, you know, keeping track of this organization and keeping it going, and your day-to-day contribution and support. Thank you so much, and see you in November, if not before, and look forward to getting this straightened out. Thanks so much. If you have anything to talk about, I'm happy to hang around.
Thanks, Rand. Thanks, Randy.
Thanks, everyone.
Randy, thanks everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank you, Nick.
everyone.